now. I'm gonna look at some Ecuador stuff. Ecuador elections 2023. Here we go. Let's go to Reuters. Reuters is pretty good. Ah, yes, this guy, Daniel Noboa. Oh, no, Noboa. There's no D there. Daniel Noboa wins Ecuador presidential election, pledges to rebuild country. Yeah, I remember reading about this guy, I think, in the French newspaper. Or, like, in another newsfeed. So, elections have been happening. Many such cases, you know, it's a very interesting thing to me that in the modern world, even the most dictatorial of countries, like fucking Russia and like Myanmar, Thailand, like a lot of places have to put up the veneer of liberal legitimacy by holding elections that are, to a degree, not super interfered in, even if they introduce all sorts of like litmus tests and like arbitrary seat limits and whatever. Like I think in Thailand there is actually a hard limit that the military party can't have less than 50% of the seats, which is ridiculous. But beyond that, like the elections still do happen, and it seems that the liberal democratic process is as validated as ever. The reason I mention this is because of an election that happened in Ecuador recently. A tide of left-leaning and leftist politics has been sweeping through Latin America over the past few years, and I am all here for it. Lula in Brazil, Castillo and Boric, and who else? The MAS party, and I forgot his name in Colombia, in Nicaragua, I think. There have been a lot of social democratic and socialist upsets. Petro, yes. Petro Ortega in Nicaragua. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. One of these countries is Ecuador. It seems that their time has not come yet because the election that happened a couple of days ago resulted in the liberal candidate winning, Daniel Noboa. He is described in the French news outlet I read. He's described as ultra-liberal, ultra-liberal, which, from their perspective, liberal means neoliberal, and this guy is a neoliberal candidate. Although I suppose this might just be the product of a low bar. There are worse things that could have happened. There are worse potential outcomes that could have taken place, even though this guy was clearly the worst of the two options. You know, it's not like we were electing, he's a Harvard Business School graduate. Yeah, basically the kind of policy you could expect from that guy. However, I will contend and say that he's no Pinochet. He said some pretty bog standard stuff that makes me think he isn't going to go on a dictatorial rampage. And, as Resist Colonizers pointed out, thank you for that, he might not even get to do that if he wanted to, because this was a special election. This was not the regularly scheduled election that was supposed to happen in the country every, so many years. He's only going to get to be president for 15 months before the next election. So hopefully by then, the more left candidate will have built support. I forgot what her name was, too. God damn it. I'm so bad with names. Gonzalez. Yes, that's right. Luisa Gonzalez. That's right. She was the, I believe, social democratic or socialist candidate. Those two kind of blend together for me when we're talking about, reformist parties and stuff. And the election was pretty close. Here, Reuters is reporting that it was somewhere from 52-48 to 53-47. So it wasn't by any means a blowout election. There's certainly enough space and time in the next 15 months for the Social Democratic Party to gain support, or I think they call themselves the Popular Revolution Party, Citizen Revolution, something like that. And to give a much better showing in the next election. And as Resist Colonizers also pointed out, this was not just for the presidency, this was for the legislative branch as well. And the left party, the Citizen Revolution, gained a lot of seats in the Ecuadorian parliament. Luisa is a graduate of the Complutense in Madrid in economics and development. All right, so we've got two relatively well-educated candidates. One of them with something that makes every neoliberal very happy, and one of them with something that makes every socialist very happy. In fact, let me see Ecuador elections 2023. I think the Wikipedia article would show, yes, the Ecuador 2023 general election. Very high turnout in this election, which was good to hear. It was something like 82% turnout, which is pretty good. Let's see. Here we have the voting is obligatory. Yeah, I assume that's part of it. The United States, it's like really bad for voter turnout. That's only just started to change recently with like mail-in voting. So these were snap elections. And yeah, you can see here is about 52-48. It's a fine of 10% of minimum. It's a fine of 10% of the minimum wage if you don't vote. Interesting. Yeah, let's see what was the makeup of the legislature as a result of this election. Wow, this is dense. I'm gonna have a hard time reading that. We have Noboa and Luisa Gonzalez. Do I get to see what their parties? Yes, National Assembly. Here we go. Citizen Revolution Movement. This is Gonzalez's party. They got 39% of the vote, and they have 42 seats in the provincial, like across provincial legislatures. They have 6 seats in the national legislature. Oh, out of only 15. Wow, interesting. The bottom line is that Luisa's party only got 33% of their national vote for the assembly last time, 39% this time. Okay, so that's a increase from the last time. And then we have the Movimiento Construye. This was okay. So this is another left party, I think, like left liberal probably. All right, so it looks like the left is doing pretty well in the legislature. And then we have National Democratic Action, which is the right-wing party, the right liberal party that Daniel Noboa is part of, and they have only 2 seats in the national legislature. Wow. Yeah. So this election, while you know some people might look at this election and say, "Oh, that's a shame. The leftist candidate didn't win." The leftist party did gain some ground. We won almost all the mayoral elections earlier in the year. All the big seats are under our control. And that is great news. If anything, I think this is a good opportunity to show people why the presidential election isn't everything, right? You know, it's one thing you have a right-wing president, but when so much of the government is in the hands of a left party, then the left party is going to be able to make up significant ground in the meantime until they can get a friendly president in office. And they can exact some concessions from the right-wing president, potentially. Things, I think, are going to change for the better in Ecuador. It would be kind of like in the United States if there was a... not a Republican, because politics are pretty fucked in the United States. If you got, like, a Joe Manchin type as president, somebody who is clearly, like, in opposition to the rest of the Democratic Party, or the rest of, like, the left in the United States... But a lot of the, you know, Congress was Democratic and a lot of the states were Democratic controlled as well, you know, a lot of localities, then I think that's, you know, overall that's good for the left. And I think this is good for the left. And of course, we will see what happens in the next 15 months, because this is another, actually, an advantage of this, because of the right-wing candidate being president. That's where most of the political attacks are going to be directed, and that's going to be a very easy bludgeon for the left to use against the right, looking forward to the next elections. And it's possible they could use that to gain even more seats, even more like local power, even more seats in the provincial and national legislature, and we could see one of the big social reform movements coming out of Ecuador, like we've seen in other countries that have been led by leftist parties in South America. If Daniel Noboa tries to force privatizations through, we know how to block roads. See the June 2022 and October 2023 protests. Yeah, that's right. It's October 2019 protests. Yeah, let me actually take a look at that. Ecuador protests 2019. On October 2nd, 2019, the Union Central Frente Unitario de los Trabajadores, the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, the Popular Front, and the Student Union Federation of University Students of Ecuador announced national protests against the government measures. This is in response to privatization. Let me see if I can see block. Here we go. The protest began on October 3rd as taxi and bus drivers came out to protest against the planned abolition of the fuel subsidies. Okay, pro tip for anybody who's getting into politics. This is universally a bad idea. There are some goods that are so essential to the functioning of an economy that you never want to end the subsidies for them. Fuel is one of those things. Another one being food, water being yet another one. You know, there are some things that are so essential that there is an underlying interest for everybody that they remain subsidized. President Moreno declared a state of emergency the following day, 4 hours before the protest began. The protest had crippled the country's transport network, with all major roads and bridges blocked in the capital, Quito. After reaching a deal with the government, a planned strike was canceled by the groups. Well, that's good. They got some concessions. Yeah. You know, if I have no doubt that if this government, if the president tries to like unilaterally do some sort of executive action by which he would, I don't know, privatize transit or energy infrastructure, people would probably react in a very similar way. You know, that's in recent enough memory. And, you know, it worked last time. The protest, that is. So yeah. Don't be fooled necessarily by the fact that a right-wing president won the election in Ecuador. That's a shame for sure, but I think the bigger picture is trending leftward, and that's good because it means more social ownership, more social safety nets, better wages for workers, better protections in the workplace, and overall it means that the business leaders, the capitalists and whatnot, are going to have a way harder time exploiting people below them and sort of keeping things in a cycle of poverty. Is it going to become a socialist country? No, I'm under no delusion that it will. That's a really tall ask, and we're still living in a globalized capitalist economy, but things will get substantially better, and that eggshell is going to get cracked just a little bit more. God, I'm just cranking out good segments today. Cut that one there as well, future me.